Begasten, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters on the path. We live in a world where appearances are crafted and words are polished, but true character, the essence of who someone is, does not lie in what they say or how they dress, but it is revealed quietly and consistently in two areas: how a person behaves when they have power and how they respond when they are powerless. Power does not change people, it reveals them. And this simple truth often escapes us because we are too focused on the external transformation that power seems to bring about. We think someone has become arrogant after success or ruthless after gaining authority. But in truth, what we see is not change, it is unveiling. When power enters someone's life, it acts like fire. Fire doesn't create the qualities in the metal. It only reveals what was already there. If the metal is impure, the fire exposes the weakness. And if it is strong, the fire shows its strength. Power does the same with people. Consider a man who has struggled for years with humility and kindness. He receives a position of leadership and suddenly he speaks with confidence. His voice carries weight and people listen. Many might say, power has made him proud. But if you observe carefully, you will see he is not unkind. He does not belittle, he remains grounded. The confidence was always there, quietly waiting for permission to speak. Power gave it the stage, but it also gave his humility the same stage. And you see it in how he listens, how he gives credit, how he remembers those who helped him along the way. On the other hand, observe someone who once seemed soft-spoken, cooperative. Power arrives and suddenly they become aggressive, dismissive, even cruel. You think they have changed, but they have not. The craving for dominance was always inside them. The bitterness, the resentment, the need to control, all of it was waiting for a moment to rise. Power did not corrupt them. It simply opened the door to what had been hiding behind politeness. This is why we must pay close attention when people are elevated, not only to leaders or public figures, but to ourselves and those around us. When someone is given more responsibility, when they are placed above others, even slightly, you begin to see their truth. How do they handle disagreement? How do they use their authority? Do they seek to understand or only to be obeyed? Do they build others or do they feed their own ego? These are not surface reactions, these are reflections of what has lived in their mind quietly through the years. I once witnessed a man placed in charge of a small team. Before that, he was always quiet, always helpful, but with a little power, everything changed. He no longer listened. He no longer greeted people with warmth. He started using fear to control and took pride in reminding others of their mistakes. It was sad to see, but also enlightening because it reminded me that many people wear masks and power removes them. It strips away the need to pretend and reveals the inner architecture of a person's character. That is why in spiritual disciplines, and especially in Shaolin teachings, we do not admire power for its own sake. We admire those who remain the same in silence and in applause, in hardship and in success. To remain steady when the world tries to lift you or crush you, that is strength. Power is like wind. It can lift a balloon or tear down a tree. The balloon rises quickly because it is hollow. The tree remains because its roots are deep. Ask yourself, which one are you becoming? And if you are ever in a position of power, even the smallest amount, remember that every action you take will reveal your training, your discipline, your values, how you speak to those who cannot speak back, how you act when others depend on you, how you decide when everyone watches in silence. All these are mirrors. They reflect your essence, not your image. In the monastery, we are taught that to lead is to serve, that the leadership is not about control, it is about responsibility. The higher you go, the deeper you must bow. This is why we sweep the temple floor, regardless of rank, why we share meals in silence, and why the master is often the first to rise and the last to sleep. Because in power lies temptation, and only humility can balance it. Only mindfulness can keep it from turning into poison. So when you meet someone who has power and they are still kind, still respectful, still listening, still learning, know that you are looking at someone who has trained their mind well. Because the natural reaction to power is self-importance, and the trained response is self-awareness. There is no shortcut to that. No meditation, no reading, no philosophy can replace the long, slow work of observing yourself in every small moment. The discipline of catching the ego when it speaks quietly in your ear telling you that you are better, more worthy, more right. That voice is not the truth. It is the test. The way a person treats others when they don't have to be kind is more important than the way they behave when kindness is expected. And the way someone uses power when no one can stop them tells you everything about who they are when no one is watching. Powerlessness strips away the mask and shows us something that even success cannot reveal. It shows us how deeply someone has worked on their inner world. When a person is powerless, when they have nothing to gain, when their status is gone and their comforts removed, you begin to see the raw version of who they truly are. It is easy to appear calm when life flows your way. It is easy to be generous when you have more than enough. But when things are taken from you, when you are denied, when you are overlooked and unseen, that is when the real self steps forward. Imagine someone who speaks often of patience and peace. They teach others to stay composed and to trust life. Then something doesn't go their way. They lose a job, or someone wrongs them, or they fail after great effort. Watch how they react in that moment. If anger rises immediately if they blame others, if they speak words filled with bitterness and resentment, then you are seeing the parts they could hide while they felt in control. Powerlessness has removed the mask, and in its place stands not the image they tried to project, but the person they truly are inside. This is not to judge, but to understand. Everyone struggles, everyone breaks sometimes, but the one who breathes through the pain, who pauses before reacting, who accepts the fall with humility and uses it to learn and rebuild, that person is walking the path of discipline. Life will always test us with failure more often than with success. It is in those moments of weakness that we are given a gift, not the gift of shame or regret, but the gift of insight. A mirror showing us where our practice is still shallow, where the ego still clings tightly. The Shaolin path teaches that external hardship is not the enemy. It is a teacher. When the body is tired, when the muscles ache, when the cold bites and comfort is gone, the mind starts to speak honestly. You cannot hide behind roles or appearances. The thoughts you feed daily become louder. If you have built your mind on anger or pride or fear, those will rise to the surface. If you have fed your mind with patience, discipline and compassion, those will become your response. Not because you planned it, but because training always shows itself under pressure. Think about how many people change when they lose status or attention. One moment they are kind and helpful, and the next they become silent, withdrawn, bitter. Or they begin to harm others with their words, trying to pull someone down so they feel less low. That is not powerlessness causing pain. That is pain revealing the untrained mind. You cannot prepare for these moments with wishful thinking. You must prepare with daily awareness. Picture thoughts when you are accountable so you can stay steady when comfort disappears. There is a story in our tradition of a monk who spent 10 years meditating in the mountains. People admired him for his peaceful nature. But one day a traveler spilled hot tea on him by accident. The monk shouted in rage and threw the cup across the room. The traveler bowed deeply and said, "Forgive me, master. I thought you had trained your mind." The monk lowered his head and said, "I have trained for 10 years in silence, but I forgot to train for the moments I feel powerless." In that moment, he learned something far more valuable than he had in all his silent sitting. We must not seek powerlessness, but we must respect it when it comes. Loss, pain, rejection, and failure are not punishments. They are gates. Gates that open only in those seasons and show us the unfinished parts of ourselves. If you watch someone during their low moments with care and attention, you will learn who they truly are, how they treat those still in power, how they carry themselves when no one claps, how they speak of others when they themselves feel forgotten. These are signs of character, far more accurate than any success story. If you are in a moment of powerlessness, do not rush to escape it. Be there fully. Observe the thoughts that visit you. Are they cruel or kind? Are they filled with fear or courage? Let these moments inform your next steps, not shame you. Use them as a reminder to return to your breath, to your posture, to your training. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this silence? How can I grow without applause? How do I carry myself when I feel unseen? These are sacred questions, not just for monks, but for anyone who walks a path of truth. Because power will come and go, but who you are in its absence stays with you. Always. Let that part be strong. Let that part be peaceful. Let that part rise even when the world tries to keep it small. The mind reveals itself through small reactions. And in this truth lies the quiet key to understanding human character. Not in grand speeches or dramatic choices, but in the little moments where awareness slips and instinct takes over. A person may prepare their words and polish their image, but when something unexpected happens, when a routine is disturbed or a plan is blocked, then the surface cracks and what lies beneath begins to show. These reactions happen quickly, with no time for control, and they say far more than we think. Watch how someone responds when they are interrupted while speaking, or when a stranger makes a small mistake in front of them. Do they show patience or irritation? Do their eyes soften or narrow? Does their tone stay calm or sharpen without effort? These are not trained performances. These are expressions of what the mind has been practicing in private. Every thought that repeats in the mind builds a path, and when action is required, quickly the body follows that path without hesitation. This is why the small moments matter so deeply, not because they are more important than big choices, but because they are more honest. They slip through the cracks of control. If someone treats a person with kindness only when being watched, that kindness is not yet real. If someone is respectful only to those in power, that respect is not yet rooted. But if you see someone gently correct a child who makes a mess, or silently pick up trash on the ground, or speak with warmth to someone others overlook, then you are seeing something real. You are seeing a mind trained not for praise but for presence. In the Shaolin tradition, we are taught to see life not as a series of events, but as a flowing pattern of reactions. Every gesture, every breath, every glance becomes a reflection of the inner state. This is why we bow even when no one is watching, why we fold our clothes with care even when alone, why we sit with our back straight even in the early morning cold, because how you do anything becomes how you do everything. And in those habits, the truth of the mind is slowly revealed. Consider how easy it is to overlook the tone of your voice or the expression on your face. Yet, these are the things people feel most deeply. A sigh before a response, a raised eyebrow, a distracted glance while someone speaks. These small signals tell more than long explanations. They are the body speaking the language of the mind. If your thoughts are sharp, your words will cut without effort. If your heart is heavy, your posture will fold without permission. If your mind is calm, your presence will comfort without trying. That is why discipline is not only about what you do, but how you do it. You may cook a meal, sweep a floor, write a letter, speak to a friend or a stranger. But the way you move, the intention behind your action, the care in your touch, these are all expressions of your state of being. And so, if you want to know yourself better, do not wait for a crisis or a moment of glory. Just watch how you behave in ordinary time. Do you hurry through small tasks? Do you lose patience over small delays? Do you listen while thinking of your reply? Or do you pause, breathe, listen, and respond from stillness? These are not just behaviors. They are signs of your relationship with your own mind. People often search for deep truths in complex philosophies, but overlook the quiet truths sitting in their everyday life. The way someone greets you in the morning, the way they say goodbye, the way they handle waiting or being wrong. These are lessons in awareness. And if you sharpen your eyes and open your heart, you will learn more in a day of watching than in a year of talking. The world becomes your teacher. Your own reactions become your classroom. If you find yourself reacting harshly in small situations, do not hide from it. Do not justify it. Simply observe. The goal is not to be perfect, but to be aware. And with awareness comes the space to shift. If you breathe before speaking, if you soften before judging, if you pause before reacting, you begin to rewire the path of the mind. Slowly, your first response becomes more aligned with your deeper values. Not because you force it, but because you have trained it. This is why inner training is not about escaping the world. It is about showing up in every moment with presence. If you can carry calm into a crowded street, you have trained well. If you can remain kind in the middle of misunderstanding, you have walked far. If you can respond with grace when no one expects it, you have become a light. And this light does not need words. It is felt in the air around you, in your small reactions, in your quiet strength, in the way you simply are. Real character is built in stillness. And this stillness is not just the absence of sound, but the absence of noise within. It is the space where you meet yourself without roles, without expectations, without performance. In this space, there is no audience to impress, no goal to chase, no one to applaud or criticize. It is only you and the truth of what you have built inside. The world is often loud, fast, and demanding, but the essence of who you are is not shaped there. It is shaped in quiet hours when no one is watching, when nothing is happening, and when your only task is to sit, breathe, and be. Stillness reveals what distraction hides. When you remove the noise of daily life, the roles, the routines, the conversations, what remains is the raw material of your being. Are you restless or content? Are you afraid to be alone or grateful for the silence? These questions are not answered in words, but in the way your body feels when stillness enters. Do you reach for your phone for a task, for something to fill the space? Or do you stay with yourself long enough to understand your thoughts, your patterns, your emotions? This is where real character begins. Not in action, but in awareness. Many people confuse character with personality or performance. They think being polite is character. They think being liked is character. But these are external effects. True character is what you return to when the performance is over. It is the set of choices you make without needing recognition. It is the discipline you keep without needing reward. It is the integrity you maintain without needing praise. These qualities are forged in the space between doing and reacting, in the sacred pause that stillness offers you. In the monastery, we are taught that stillness is not an escape from life. It is preparation for it. Before we speak, we breathe. Before we move, we watch. Before we act, we observe the intention behind the action. This practice is not dramatic, but it is deep. It shapes your center so that when life shakes you, you do not collapse. When storms come and emotions rise, your stability is not found in control, but in clarity. And that clarity is born from the stillness you have practiced over time. It is in these quiet moments that you begin to see the small lies you tell yourself, the silent fears you carry, the ego-driven thoughts that disguise themselves as wisdom. Stillness is like water settling. At first it is cloudy and full of motion. But if you wait long enough, it becomes clear. In that clarity, you start to make different choices. Not because someone told you to, but because you can finally see what serves your growth and what keeps you stuck. You can test this easily. Spend one day in silence. Turn off the noise. Be with yourself. Watch your mind. You will notice how quickly it runs, how uncomfortable it becomes, how often it resists the moment. But if you stay with it, if you let the discomfort pass without reacting, something shifts. You begin to notice your breath, your heartbeat, the space around you. And in that noticing, a sense of presence returns. You are not your thoughts, you are the one watching them. This realization builds strength that no outer success can offer. In a world that pushes speed and constant reaction, the ability to remain still is a rare and powerful skill. It allows you to respond instead of react, to listen instead of assume, to reflect instead of repeat. And when others around you are driven by urgency, your calm presence becomes a light. Not because you are superior, but because you are steady. Not because you control life, but because you have trained. Please hold your mind not to be controlled by it. Real character is not formed when things are easy. It is formed in moments when you feel lost, when you feel unsure, when you feel unseen. And in those moments, if you can sit in stillness, if you can remain with yourself without trying to escape, if you can hold the discomfort with gentle awareness, you will find a strength that does not need to shout. You will discover a wisdom that does not come from books or teachers, but from the quiet voice inside you that speaks only when you are ready to listen. This is why the great masters do not speak often. Their words are few, but their presence is full, because they have spent years in stillness, not doing nothing, but doing the deepest work of all, observing, understanding, letting go. Their character is not built from opinion, but from experience, from countless moments of choosing awareness over distraction, presence over escape, truth over comfort. You do not need to be in a monastery to build this kind of character. You only need to make time for stillness